As you know, I spent 4 years at Harvard University to get my degree. And if you ask me, what do you remember from your studies? I would honestly say I don't remember much. Because when I learned in a classroom from a teacher for an exam. That's important, but it's not the most effective way. That's why I went around the world to Madagascar, Ecuador, Cyprus to learn about the world not from a classroom but from real life. And that educational trip starts in the most unlikely place to learn from in the world. The back of a bus. Here's a crazy idea. If you take the world's most popular map, Africa is smaller than Canada and Madagascar is just a tiny island. But the map you're looking at is wrong because in reality, Africa is much bigger than Canada. These maps were made by Europeans for Europeans, where the size of Russia, Europe, and Canada is enlarged and the size of Africa is shrunk, just so the whole map fits on paper. Which means when Aline and I try to cross a tiny map distance in Madagascar, in reality it's much bigger. And to cross that, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours. That's why it's night right now. Africa is bigger than you think it is, and Russia is smaller than you think it is. Because even the maps favor the West and leave out the rest. That's 1 minute. See you tomorrow from Madagascar. Next up, global warming. You hear a lot about this subject in the news and in the classroom. My whole life growing up, it was hard for me to believe that a couple of degree changes will affect anything or anyone. That's what I thought. Until I went to visit the Galapagos Islands in the country of Ecuador. We f***ed up. We f***ed up. As I stand here in the Galapagos Islands, I can't help but think of how humans f***ed up nature. These islands have existed for millions of years, developing a wildlife you can't see anywhere else in the world. Until humans came with their cars, cities, dogs, chicken, cats, and rats. Animals killed the peaceful wildlife and humans took over their homes. Here and everywhere, humans are destroying wildlife. Man-made climate change will affect water temperatures on these islands just by a few degrees. And these extra degrees will kill marine food. So marine animals can no longer find food. These marine iguanas, the only ones in the world, could starve to death. And I'm not even mentioning the human islands that could be gone because of climate change. Look, don't become vegetarian and don't turn off electricity. All I'm asking of you is this. Just be mindful of nature. That's 1 minute. See you tomorrow. That's all good. But the most important thing to learn in the world is not from animals, bus rides, or continents. It's from humans. And from 2 humans in Cyprus, I learned a lot about forgiveness. Meet Fethi and Yanis.
Hi, we are almost killing each other.
This is the incredible story of Fethi and Yanis, who almost killed each other without even knowing each other. 44 years ago, Yanis served in the Greek army, and on his last day in the army, he was called to battle. And in that battle, Yanis was shot in the head by Fethi in the Turkish army.
I thought I'd kill him, but I survived.
Yanis went to the hospital and lived, and 34 years later, he wrote about his story in a book. That book made its way to Fethi, and to his surprise, the same guy he shot was alive. He called up Yanis asking for forgiveness, and Yanis forgave him. Political conflict in Cyprus made these 2 guys fight in a war, but now they're fighting for something better. Peace. At the end of the day, education is important. If I could live life again, I'd still go to Harvard and I'd still get my degree. I loved it. But I would also remember that education comes in many shapes and forms. The maps of the world from a bus ride, global warming from an island, and forgiveness from soldiers. All of these are lessons that you learn in real life. And that is something you can never forget.